Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner Davis.
And welcome to our broadcast. It's been a very trying week this past week, so forth. It's all a lot of tragedies and so forth. But I'm Ed McQueen, your host tonight, and the co-host April is really gathering other things and to further make the program more successful. So she won't be with us tonight, but she will be behind the scenes. I can show you that. You see all the new stuff coming up. So, but anyway, good evening to you all. I'm glad you could be with us this Tuesday on our WCM Live at right here on Facebook and YouTube and WCMagazine.net. So we want to welcome you all. You know that we're for the community. That's why it's called World Community Magazine, and all of our guests that we've had and expect to have in the future and one the current today. It's going to be for the community, and that's our goal. That's our objective, to make sure that you are in tune to what can benefit the community. So let's get with it. One of the important topic and I jumped at this when I saw it again, and that is reading for our pre-K gems and jewels, that I like to call them, that is being right now. It's a program that I looked at as very, very valuable, and we have a very, very capable person of heading this program, and they've had some success, a lot of success, and we're going to have him here to talk about it this evening, to go over what's been happening for the past year and what is expected. My understanding, the word is out that it's been very, very successful, and that just warms my heart. So without further ado, my guest this evening is none other than Reverend Richard Williams Jr., and he's from Conway.
Yes. Good evening.
Yeah, and he is the program manager for early education at the United Way headquarters in Horry County.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and you recently you had a very, very successful quote unquote United to Read event.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's right.
And from what I've heard about that, man, I'm impressed. And so we just need to have you to just elaborate on the things that made it so successful in Horry County. I'm sure you being the primary component of making it special, but
unfortunately, I can't be in 156 places at one time.
Right.
But we were able to dispatch 156 volunteers in 156 classrooms, first grade classrooms in Horry County on November the 19th, to read a very wonderful book called Not a Box by Antoinette Portis. And this book really allows a child's imagination to grow. The character in the book, this little bunny here, is interacting with this box, and everyone who looks at him only sees a box, but he sees what the box can become. And so it was a wonderful way to engage our first graders across the county in them imagining what the box could be, what the character thought that could make the box become. And then also we allowed those students to create a box and what they wanted to be. One child in a school in Horry County made it a DJ booth, said his box, he was standing behind the DJ booth. One made it a doghouse for his teacher. So it was vast. We had 6,000 students read to. So those were 6,000 ideas across the county. Those are some pictures from that day. 6,000 children were engaged with that book. And these are some people from our community who read to students across the county, which we're so grateful to have the participation of leaders in our community, and that's me standing in a box. Um,
So the venue was at schools or
at every elementary school in
every
Horry
school?
County, in every first grade classroom, we were reading the same book at the same
At the
time.
same time.
At the same time, absolutely.
Right, right. Technology, man. I'm glad for that.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. So that was very interesting. Again, that's why I was so impressed. And there were some other statistics that you ran by me during our conversation that we had maybe a couple of weeks ago or a week ago about this program. Could just tell us a little bit more about it?
With United Way, I serve as the early education program manager, and my sole purpose is to educate our community about what steps we need to make as a community and as parents
Right.
to get our children ready for kindergarten. And so we have adopted last year when I initially spoke to you, I was new on the job, but we adopted a program called The Basics, which are 5 things that a child needs in order to be ready for kindergarten.
Right.
That's maximizing love, managing stress, sing, talking point, count, group, and compare, explore
Right.
through movement and play, and read and discuss stories. There is a study that came out of Harvard that says if a child has these 5 things for the first 3 to 5 years of their life, then that child will be ready for kindergarten. And so we jumped on the opportunity to adopt The Basics because what United Way does is we try to get in the gap where there are services. We don't want to duplicate efforts. So where there are gaps, we want to be able to fill those gaps. And there was a gap in our community where we had so many students going to kindergarten who are not ready. And I'm about to give you a statistic that's gonna knock you off your feet. 70% of the students entering kindergarten are not ready for kindergarten in Horry County. 70%. That
So
means only 30% are ready.
okay. So what is the eligibility or what is the criteria for being ready that you would be considered ready?
To be socially and emotionally and cognitively ready, which means that all of those neurons were fired up in the first 3 years of a child's life. From 0 to 3, the brain of a child is developed 80%. It's 80% developed by the time they're 3 years old, which means you only have those 3 years to engage your children physically, emotionally, cognitively, in order to see the impact that is needed. There is a study that if a child is reading at 3rd grade, their success is great. If they're not, the trajectory is not good. And so for a long time, there was an emphasis on 3rd grade reading. Well, if you're not ready in kindergarten, the chances of you being ready by 3rd grade is slim to none. And so now the focus has shifted to this 0 to 3 space where we're trying to get parents on board to do just practical things around the house that doesn't cost you a thing. You don't have to buy any curriculum. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be able to expose your children to the 5 things I said, maximizing love, managing stress. That means I'm just loving on my child. I'm making them secure. A child who's not secure, a child that does not feel safe and loved will not function in a public school away from
That's right.
loving. Yeah, a
I
child
agree with that.
who cannot speak because people have not used words around them, have not grown their vocabulary. They cannot communicate, and if you cannot communicate, you will not engage in kindergarten. Therefore, you'll be left behind. A child that can't count, group, or compare will be left behind because these are concepts that we get very early on. And we get those concepts of counting, grouping, comparing, by even counting the steps we're making. We're 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, or counting buttons that you're putting on your shirt, or grouping all the things that are red together and all the things that are blue together and those sort of things. All of those things help a child to be ready for kindergarten when that teacher is throwing so much information at them. They need to have those neurons have to be connected in order for them to stick.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. So each time I talk with you, it looked like I'm also impressed by that too. I mean, you got your stuff together. Give us a little bit about your background to get where you've gotten today, educationally and whatever. How you started off, so forth.
Oh wow! So I have lived a lot of lives. At 38, I've lived a lot of different lives, and the reason why United Way picked me for this job was not my background in early education. It was the fact that I was from this community, I knew this community, and I knew how to engage in the community. And so, and I'm teachable. So I got, of course, I studied vocal performance at the South Carolina Governor's School for the Arts and Humanities, and then went on to Peabody Conservatory, and I've studied.
Well, I could have told you that.
Yeah, you know all about that.
Everybody's saying.
So that, of course, that is my background. But when I moved back home 12 years ago, I worked at the Academy of Hope Public Charter School as a one-on-one with a child with special needs, and got engaged in education that way. And then I became the music teacher at that school before getting sick and kidney failure and all of that. And you prayed with me through that and good thoughts and encouraging during that time. And then last year, 2023, I went back to work, and I've been working on this one. I've got my finger on the pulse of the community, I believe, and I care about our community. I care about our children. And then I'm raising 3 children in Horry County Public Schools. And so their success is my success, and it's our success.
Absolutely.
And then if your children are getting the same things that my children are getting, iron is only sharpening iron. And so I want to ensure that every child in Horry County has those opportunities, no matter what your economic background is, that you have an opportunity to learn, to grow, and be successful if given the right tools. I was watching this morning, I posted on my Facebook page, there was this family in Mississippi in the early 50s and 40s and 50s who raised 9 children. Black family raised 9 children, and they were on a sharecropping. They were sharecroppers, and all 9 of those children went on to college and ended up with multiple degrees, and they bought their mother a house because there was something that they did. Those children, although they didn't have finances and means, they obviously got those 5 things that we say are so important. And those 5 things are things that you and I know a child needs, but is missing right now because of all the distractions in the world. They're missing because we've got technology, we're smarter, but dumber at the same time. We've got all of these things that make life easier, but it's really been a handicap for our children. And so the basics is a reminder of things that we experience as children that we need to also give our children if they're going to be successful.
Absolutely. And the age of your 3 now, I only saw one, and she was an absolute joy to be talking to.
Wow,
the oldest one, I think.
She's my middle child.
Middle child.
We have one girl, she's 8 years old, Jenna Grace, and then our oldest is Caleb. He's 11 in the middle school. He's in 6th grade at Whittemore Park, and then we have a kindergartner. So we have milestones: kindergarten, 3rd grade, and 6th grade. So pray much for us.
Absolutely. When I first introduced you on the air a few minutes ago, I said Reverend Richard Williams. So do you want to elaborate on where your church is? Before I want to get on some more stuff about your program.
Absolutely,
of course. But what's the name of your church?
I pastor the greatest church in Horry County.
I heard that
Mount
before,
Vernon
somewhere.
Missionary Baptist Church in Nichols, South Carolina. Don't get scared by Nichols. Our address is Nichols, but we're in Green Sea. So we're still in Horry County, the most northern part of the county. And we are striving to do great things. We are a real church one that is relevant, effective, alive, and linked to the community. So, I just think the work that I do at United Way goes hand in hand with the work that I do at the church. We're a community church. I work a nonprofit job, and I think that they both tie in together very well.
Yeah. So getting back to the United to Read, you mentioned there were one of the objectives was to create opportunities for all entities that get involved in this project, right? For example, the educational and the I guess the religion too, because we do have religious schools, right? So,
the church or the religious space does not have to have a school in order to be engaged. If you have parents who are coming to your place of worship, then that's an opportunity. So there are so many different ways that you can do it. What the Basics likes to do is what we call community saturation. That means in every sector of the community, engage with the Basics. So this afternoon, I spoke with many of the managers of the attractions here in the Grand Strand. So we had Ripley's Aquarium there, we had Dave & Buster's there, we had Stars and Stripes there, and Ripley's Aquarium. All of those places came together so that I can tell them about how they can engage with the Basics. And so many of them, like Big Air, will be putting the Basics up in their gymnasium where parents can sign up to get the text messages that support the Basics that we talked about. These are just reminders of things that a parent can do. Those text messages come out twice a week, on Monday and Wednesday, and they are geared to the child's age and stage. So just like those businesses do it, faith-based communities can also do it. One of the things that I did last year, which I tried to engage churches on doing, is I opened our church up to the community. And I said, if you have a baby in this community and you want that baby dedicated, we invite you to church. And I dedicated over 20 babies that Sunday and gave those babies the Basics. The Basics. So that was a unique way that I felt like I could, one, engage our community in our church, two, give them the gospel, and three, also give them the gift of the Basics. So there's so many different ways that we could do it. I've also held parent meetings at our church for people who have children 0 to 5, giving them this the basic tips and things that they can use in order to ready their children for kindergarten as well.
You're a very busy young man, I guess.
Yeah, no sleep.
I said no sleep.
No sleep.
No sleep. Wow. Well, that's look as productive as it may sound. I mean, you probably couldn't get used to getting a lot of sleep anyway.
No, I probably couldn't get used to it.
Probably couldn't. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about 70% of our young children pre-K, they're not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now these statistics were gotten from where?
So these are the Horry County statistics. They come from the KRA scores. So if you know any child going into kindergarten right now in the last few years, those children have gone in and done what is called a staggered start. And that is so that those children can be tested. And when those children are tested on what they know, there's social aspects of that test, there's cognitive aspects of that test, and then what they know educationally. Those scores are then sent to South Carolina, to the state education department, South Carolina, and the report card comes out. And on our report card, it just came out in early October. It is now 30%, but when we talked last year, it was 28%. So we have gone up 2 ticks, but we've got a lot of work to do. And we have worked really hard to get the basics in the hands of parents. We have nearly 300 families on our basic system right now. And we post the basics opportunities in your magazine every month. And so if you get that magazine, if you flip to our page, there's probably a QR code there that will guide you. If you're a child, if you have a child under 5 years old, go to that page, our page on there, and you will see a QR code that you'll be able to engage with the basics there.
Yeah. In fact, I'll turn to that page right now. Yeah, let's see. Without all my lighting in here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey,
that's it.
That's it. Yeah. And yeah. And that page sells a lot. Okay. It really does. And I guess let me revert to the opportunities again. I'm trying to make see what can be even a more further attraction for parents to make sure that they contact you and get engaged in your program, because I'm sure you haven't reached 100% of all of the people.
No, we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. But this is so important that maybe if it can be said as to what the type of I don't know how to put this, for lack of a better word, for what income of people that seem to be missing here.
Interestingly enough, it is cross-cultural and cross-economical.
Okay.
And that is the misnomer. And last year, if you had asked me that question, I would have said low-income persons.
Right.
But based on my experience in the last year, I have engaged with child care centers, because we also give curriculum to child care centers across the county.
Right.
And so I, besides what I do with the basics, I'm in 10 child care centers across the county, some affluent, some low-income child development centers. And there was one in particular who said, we don't really need your program, but we'll do it because we like United Way and we want to assist you. And so I really went into this affluent daycare center thinking that I was going to get because these children's parents are paying top dollar for them to come to this daycare center. Right. And when I assessed those students and their readiness for kindergarten was much lower than low-income families who don't have the means, are going, and they're in the ABC program and getting all the vouchers. Those students actually, although they were not 100% ready for kindergarten yet,
right,
they were closer than those with affluence, which lets me know that it is not a cultural problem.
Right.
It is a cross-sectoral problem. It is
an individual. It's an individual.
Well, I think, and I'll take it back, it is a cultural problem, but not in culture in sense of race culture. It is the culture of our day and time that we are experiencing. And when I say that, I mean everybody has one of these. And this is raising our children, and they're not getting they're not being read to discuss a story. So their vocabulary isn't being built because nobody's talking with them, nobody's engaging with them, no one's asking them questions to pick their brain, and so they're being taught by a device, and so these are things that we didn't have. We didn't have these kinds of distractions when we were growing up, and so our parents put a book in our hand. Our parents spent more time with us because there were less things on television, less things to do, and so there was a lot more family time, and that's missing today. And if you do not make a deliberate effort to do those things, you are going to miss the boat. I think I told you when we first talked, I was doing the basics before I knew what the basics was. I remember I watched the Cosby Show a lot growing up. I watched families in our community, and there was just certain things that I knew I would do when I became a parent. And so one of those things was, and I'm so glad I did it, was we always, when it was just Megan and me, I said, we're going to sit at the table. It's just the two of us. We're going to sit at the table and we're going to have dinner together. And then when Caleb came along, I used to have, as a child, a kids table. I said, no, we won't have a kids table. I said, we're going to bring him to the table. And so we pulled up his high chair to our table, and it was the three of us. And we were intentional about engaging him even when he could not talk. We didn't say goo goo gaga. We used real words with him. And guess what? When he started talking, his vocabulary was out of this mind, out of this world. And so then we did the same thing with Jenna, and we did the same thing with Parker. And the other day, Parker, 5 years old, says he doesn't say, I got in a car. He says, I got in an automobile. Now, we don't use automobile in our regular conversation, but it must have been in a book.
Yeah.
It must have been in a book where he picked that up and he understood that car and automobile are the same thing, but automobile sounds a lot better. So there he is with more words in his lexicon because one, we're talking with him, two, we're reading to him, and he's able to develop and have a conversation. He can get on this show and do this just as good as I can if given the right background, given the right content. So it's all about the free stuff that we do and the intentionality behind doing that.
Great, man. That's really that's impressive.
Wow.
That's impressive. Yeah. Again, and to our audience, we're talking with Reverend Richard Williams Jr., and he is the program manager for early education at United Way of Horry County, and he's here to discuss with us the program that has been going on for a while by United Way, and it's called United to Read. Give me some derivation.
It's called Mission Ready. The United Read was just that event that we had, but our program is Mission Ready.
Ready.
And our goal is to make children ready for kindergarten.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's I also find it interesting that those kind of statistics, it's never been brought out before, all these years, right? Until you all decided to say, wow, look, you got 70% of our pre-Ks, they're not ready.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why I'm glad you brought that up, Brother Edward. One of the reasons why is not spoke about, because when you hear kindergarten readiness, who do you think gets blamed first?
Right,
the
district teacher, right, or the
teacher.
Yeah.
But when did I tell you that the test was taken? The first week of school.
Yeah.
So our first instinct is our kids aren't ready for kindergarten. It must be something the school is doing or not doing. And so because the school gets the heat, it really isn't their pot. They haven't cooked that up. It's what we're giving the school. And so we've got to take the responsibility. This is what we have given to Horry County schools.
Yeah.
This is what we've given, and we've not really helped them at all. Because if I'm doing it with my children, and you and I are the only ones doing it with our children, right?
Right.
The rest of the class didn't get that. So who's now left behind? My children.
Yeah.
But if all of us as a community come together and make deliberate efforts to engage parents, to remind parents to do these 5 simple things that we can all do, I wonder what the statistics would look like in the next few years if we pushed these 5 things, Edward.
For the sake of the audience or the sake of people who maybe just joining us, yes.
Okay, so we got maximizing love, managing stress. That really just means loving on your child, holding them, kissing them, loving them. I'm going to get back to that real quick in a second. And there's talk, sing, and point, count, group, and compare. Teaching your children how to count, just simple counting. Explore through movement and play. Allowing your children to play and explore and to play pretend and to be, to be in a box and say, this is my car. Those things help a child to grow. And of course, read and discuss stories. But I want to get back to that maximizing love, managing stress. When you sign up for the basics, you have to do a baseline. So you sign up for the basics, you put your phone on the QR code, you sign up for the basics. They start asking you questions like, do you read to your child every day? Do you hug your children at least once a week? Or do you hold your children once a day? When I got the statistics back based on the 300 kids that 300 families that we already had in the system, the baseline survey said 14% of those parents had not hugged their child in a week. In 6 months, they do a follow-up survey. These parents that got this information from us twice a week for 6 months, guess what? Not one parent said, I didn't hug my child this week. So we went from 14% saying, I don't hug my children, to 0% saying, I don't hug my children. Look what we've done.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I believe in it. I think if we do these things collectively, we will have a great impact on our children, on our community. Mm-hmm. Because if our children are confident readers, are confident in kindergarten, they will be successful in 3rd grade. And if they go to 3rd grade and they make good grades in 3rd grade, they're going to want to make good grades in 4th grade and in 5th grade and in 6th grade and want to go to college. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
What would that do for our community if we got on board and encouraged reading? I don't care how poor you are. I don't care how tired you are. If you encourage your children to get give them the fundamental things, you are giving them the gift of a lifetime. You are giving our community the greatest gift ever. And even if you didn't get these things as a child, you can turn it around.
Let me fantasize for one time.
Go ahead.
Suppose your group or your entity had this at just about every church. Okay. What do you think would happen?
What I know would happen?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they would have to feel obligated to be receptive about it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a captive audience.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We like captive audiences that we give good information to, but I just think you in a church setting, if you've got confident students who are confident readers, you won't have to twist any arms on children reading in church and reading the Bible, and then they get involved in church, and then they get saved in church, and then they live for Christ. Because the earlier a child learns Jesus, the better chances they are to live for Him as an adult. Those statistics go hand in hand with reading. The same statistics for a child to learn Jesus. If a child learns Jesus between 0 and 3, he's probably going to be with Jesus for the rest of his life or her life. If a child learns to read or learns the love of reading between 0 and 3, he's going to be a good reader. He's going to be a good student. So those two things go hand in hand. And when I started looking at the statistics for both, the church is the greatest opportunity for growth. The greatest opportunity. I mean, the church has always been the hub of where our community got all of its good stuff comes from the church. Yeah.
Do you think that would be a challenge today? I'm not talking about yesterday or past few years in the back. The past should give us some basis as to what you're capable of doing with the church today and for the future. So
I think the
are you
pastor
looking?
has to have a buy-in.
Okay.
Yeah. If the pastor isn't doesn't see a need, then it won't work. I don't care
Right.
how much a layperson is engaged with it. If
Right.
it's not coming
Right.
from the pulpit, if
Right.
it's not encouraged from the pulpit, it's a failure at arrival, dead on arrival.
Yeah, because I think that the church could be such an instrument. I really think so. One way or the other. If nothing but encouraging at
Mhm.
every Sunday, encouraging the parents who are there.
Yes.
In most cases, not as grandparents, but just encouraging them to take stock in what you are offering at the United Way.
Yeah.
Okay, and because you're capable of conveying to them the results of what has transpired so far and the successes and so forth. And if the church and that the churches can be a venue for that kind of success, showing conveying your kind of success. I think we're onto something. Okay.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be far-reaching for the goal that you're trying to reach. So, again, I was just so impressed that about the project that you were heading and the success that you had. That you know, the well-being of our pre-K should be bearing on all of us, even if you don't have children, even if you don't have grandchildren. You yourself were once a pre-K.
That's right.
Okay, so and you know, if you can remember that far back, I mean, you know there was you got peer pressure and everything else, whole thing. But having said that, I do agree that from 0 to 3 are the most formative years of learning something or anything and being shaped. But I was told in the past that by up to third grade, not just the third year, that if by third grade you haven't not mastered anything, but haven't been able to convey or learn where you're supposed to be, then it won't do you any good. So that's kind of like a cutoff date. I read that. I didn't see any sources of statistics.
You are absolutely right, Edward. But it doesn't just start at third grade, and so that's what I think. The shift has happened. I'll be at a First Steps conference on Thursday in Columbia, because we understand that yes, third grade is that cutoff, but if you don't do the work before third grade, you missed it. What happens in a child's brain between birth and 3 is when the brain is the most pliable. It is like a sponge. It can be bent and shaped, and you learn all of your essential things in those first 3 years. After that, it slows down, which is why, I'm 38. I don't know how old you are, Edward, but if someone wants to teach us something new today, it's a lot harder than it would have been if we were a baby. That's why senior citizens can't work a cell phone, but their 3-year-old grandbaby can. It's because he or she only needs to see it one time, because their brains are sponges. Right. As we get older, when that child turns 4, it slows down. So if you're thinking about it started slowing down at 4, by the time that child's in the third grade, 8, that's 4 years of slowing down. 4 years less likely to grasp what they needed. So you only have those 3 years. If you focus on those 3 years, you have done you and your child a great service.
So, is there any room for flexibility there? Is there any room for not using the statistics as religiously as it is, and saying, well, we're going to move forward with this child or these children, even if they have not met what the criteria that has been set up for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't say it was impossible. I said it was slower.
Yeah.
So it just means, I mean, a child can catch up, you know. In some aspects, I'm just catching up. You know, there's some things I'm like, oh, I should have been able to connect that early on, you know. But then there are kids who just when you see those children that just have it, 9 times out of 10, somebody was doing something like having conversation with that child.
Yeah.
Counting with the child, talking with the child, reading with the child, loving on the child. That means you can't, there's no such thing as spoiling your baby. There's no such thing. I know we say that, put that baby down, you're going to spoil the baby. There's no such thing as spoiling a baby. A baby needs to be spoiled, because what happens is, Edward, when a child, what happens in the brain of a child who's in distress, the fires go off in the child's brain. And when you hold a child and comfort a child, the fire gets extinguished, right?
Right.
So if you don't ever extinguish a fire from a child, then when they are explosive, they don't know how to self-contain themselves. So by the time they go to kindergarten, they're expected to sit down, learn how to hold their emotions in, and they've never been taught, because no one else ever turned the fire out. So the fire is there ablazing, and what happens in school? We put them in a box, and they're bad, and then we put them in a room, and then now they're in self-contained, and all because no one put the fire out when they were a baby.
Have them on ADHD medicine and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Put the fire out, and you put the fire out by love, by being intentional about that holding and cuddling and loving on. You know, I remember when Caleb was born, I didn't know about skin to skin. I learned about it right before he was born. And so because I didn't carry Caleb, there is, and dads don't want to talk about it, but there is a disconnect, at least for me, because I didn't carry the baby for 9 months, right? And so the baby gets here, and then you're like, I don't know what to do with that baby. And so you got to figure out how to bond with a child who's been in the mother's womb all that time. And so one of the ways we do that is the skin to skin. And so that's when you take off your shirt and the baby is naked, and you put that baby on your chest, and you allow yourself to breathe and let your breath sync with that child. What bonds that builds very early on, that you all are now connected in a way that you were never connected before. This child feels safe. Although you're a giant to them, they feel safe in your arms. And a child that feels safe is a safe child. Yeah. A child that does not feel safe at home will find safety outside of home, and then that will be their family. Yeah. And if you want the greatest influence on your children, you need to be intentional about what you do to show them who you are and who they are to you, and how much you love them. And you can send your children to Timbuktu, and they will be all right.
I can tell by the number of comments we've gotten to see that you put a spark in some of our viewers.
Well, praise the Lord.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that too. I just want to make sure that you are well known from this perspective. Okay, so you mind telling the audience what church you're a pastor of and so forth, so that they'll know. They may want to visit.
Please come out and visit. A Church Alive is worth the drive. It is Mount Vernon Missionary Baptist Church in Green Sea Community. The address is Nichols, but we're right up from Green Sea High School on Highway 9. You get on Highway 9, you will not miss it. Can't miss it on the left-hand side. Yeah.
All right.
And I've had 5 wonderful years there as the pastor.
Really? So that's a Baptist church, by the way?
Baptist church.
Missionary Baptist church.
Baptist bred and Baptist fed, and when I'm gone, I'll be Baptist dead.
You don't want to write a book of poems? I don't know. It's a good start, brother. I don't know. It's a good start. But look, thank you so much, man, for your information that you brought forth to us. And some people may look at this and say, well, he's trying to sell his program and he's only trying to sell his program. But we're all benefiting, okay? We're all benefiting, and the information that you've conveyed this evening is going to be resting on somebody's brain, a lot of people, regarding their, in most cases today, their grandchildren, okay? Pre-K,
Absolutely.
all right? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fine too, because we have a lot of grandparents who are raising children.
Yeah.
And they need the skills and things like that too. I also want, before we leave, I want to plug that we also do Triple P training for parents of older children.
Right.
Maybe you need a parent skills. So I do Triple P classes. So if you're that's positive parenting program. If you're interested in having the Triple P classes at your church or community center or event, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me at richard@unitedwayori.org, or you can call me at 843-331-6755. That's 843-331-6755. And we can schedule a parent meeting in your church, community center, wherever you're hosting. And we can do that. I can also share the basics as well. There was a question that came up, and I think we need to answer it. There was a question about, is it true that prisons are built based on third grade reading scores? And that is true. And that's where you got your statistic, Edward, about why it's so important that third graders know how to read, because there is a pipeline from third grade to prison for non-readers, and that's how they build prisons. But to answer that question in whole is, like I said before, third grade is that cutoff mark, but we got to start earlier if we're going to be prepared for third grade.
Yeah. It's that third grade that stuck in my mind. I guess I read it in more than one.
It is, because for a long time that was the focus, but we had to say, hold on, you can't just start in third grade.
Right.
You can't just start in second grade. That has to happen in the beginning. Yeah. And
Okay.
you're your child's first and most important teacher.
Absolutely. Well, now everybody will tell you that. Everybody will tell you that. So again, Reverend Williams, we want to thank you for coming on the program this evening. And,
Thank you for having me.
And it's just that information. Look, we're trying. We hope to be a venue for not just use the word educating for lack of a better word, but just getting information out there like yourself, what you've been conveying today. A great number of people haven't heard about that. Okay, wow. They don't know the statistic that you were spitting out. To tell you the truth. Okay, and hopefully that they've got a chance to hear these statistics and see who's one of the managers of that that is for your early education program manager at United Way. Do you mind sharing where the United Way is that in Horry County?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, because I never knew where it was before I worked here. It is on Century Circle, and that is right behind Lowe's Appliance on 501. If you, depending on what way you're coming, you make that left. You come opposite Conway Hospital come across those railroad tracks, and we're right on the right hand side.
Yeah, right. It's in back of Lowe's, right?
In the back
pretty
of
much
yeah.
in back of Lowe's. Yeah. So what should we look for? What should we tell parents if we see them just in passing? If they've got grandchildren and they're from 0 to 3 or they're 4 years old, something like that.
You want to tell them they can go to our. We have a website. It's called the Basics Waccamaw, basicswaccamaw.org, and you can sign up that way. If you inbox me, I can send you the link. Because we've talked tonight, I'm going to post the link on our website. On my Facebook page. And there's people who probably on here who are watching from my Facebook page now. What I'll do is I will post it on our Facebook page and tag the World Community Magazine to it as well. So you can just click on that and sign up as well. Those are for children 0 to 4. If the child is already 5, it won't let you sign up because you graduate out of the program at 5. It's free to you. United Way pays for it. We just need the community to engage with it and get those reminders twice a week.
I'm glad you brought up the cost for it, and there is no cost.
No cost.
Because that's when you start offering services like that without mentioning a cost. That kind of gets to people's mind, and you want to know, whether they can afford it or not.
That's right.
Okay. It's enough just having the resource or not having the resources to do so. So again, I want to thank you so much, and I'm speaking for April also, and she's been working behind the scenes tonight with all this good information that's been put up there.
April.
Yeah. So good, and our audience, we're certainly glad you tuned in this evening. If you, again, the information is still up there called thebasicswaccamaw.org, as you see on the screen there. You can go to that and get a better understanding of. It can't be any more elaborate than the way Reverend Williams put it this evening. So that's what I'm still impressed, brother. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
God bless you. Have a good night.
God bless you. Yes. Godspeed. To audience, we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll have another guest for you that's going to benefit you and the community. And so just stay tuned. We'll be sending out some promotions. Again, this is community. This is world community information, but we dwell on the local community to a greater magnitude than probably seen as. Okay. Again, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Godspeed.
Thank you for watching the World Community